Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of Stash Port for Stash Project. Today is September 6th, 2021, and so we are rolling right along. We got some of the sort of upcoming kits, if you will, for the fall, the winter, as the All Japan Model and Hobby Show, which would normally take place at the end of this month. It should have been the last weekend of September. Has been canceled, obviously, due to coronavirus. So the model companies are going to more than likely put out their own little exposés, if you will, of their coming products. And we've gotten Tamiya's and also Aoshima's December releases. There's nothing actually quite new there per se, but we are looking forward to actually tomorrow, the 7th, will be when Hasegawa does their November, December kit announcement. So we're looking for the new stuff from Hasegawa. That'll be the fun stuff for next week's video. But for this week's video, a couple of, like I said, a few things, odds and ends that are new. First up, not necessarily a Japanese company, but actually a Korean one. We're getting the next version of the Academy Hyundai Pony. You may recall this has been out for about a year now in a red box art car. We took a look at it on the other channel at one point. This is the taxi version of it. And if you actually were one of the people who picked up one of those kits back when they were available earlier in the first release, you know the taxi parts are actually already in the kit, in the clear parts runner. So the only actual new things about this kit will be the decals for a Korean taxi service, as well as it having a new figure included. It has a driver figure for the car as well. So, if you're into the 124 scale figure things, I do believe he's going to be like permanently in a seated position, sort of arm on the window, waving at you like the box art showed. But, it is another, I guess, scale driving figure for you if you're into that sort of thing. Now, mentioning those upcoming kits, at Tamiya, they announced, as I roll this thing around my computer and cause it to yell at me, they've announced that they're going to reissue their 1983 Nissan Fairlady 300ZX kit. This kit was tooled up back in the 80s. Like I said, it represents an 83, so it's that transition between the older 280 body style with the twin headlights and what would go on to be sort of the doorstop sort of look the car would have, pretty much forever after that. The kit does have an engine insert to it. It's not a full engine, but there is an engine insert to it. And like I said, the kit's been around for a while. It's just been out of the catalog for probably, I want to say, at least 5 years, maybe longer now. Not a huge surprise to see this come back with the ZG being released and them releasing a bunch of their other Z kits, the 350Z coming out, and all that sort of thing. So, it's to be expected. They did the same thing when they did the new Supra tooling. They released all of their old Supra kits as well. So that'll be your December reissue, and the new tool for the fall for December is going to be a 2022 Toyota GR86. Now the GR is that whole Gazoo racing thing. It is sort of the TRD of the current iteration, I guess. TRD being Toyota Racing Development, of course, was a lot of their sporty models of Toyotas over the years, and Gazoo Racing, which is the team that not only preps the 24 Hours of Le Mans prototype car, is now sort of their sport series. TRD still does the truck stuff, but the Gazoo Racing name has come with all the car stuff. So it is a current brand new generation of the Boxer twins, the 86 and the BRZ. Would not surprise me at some point we see a BRZ announced with this, and it's basically the same car, just a slightly different front fascia attached. I think the rear bumper might have a little bit of a tweak to it, and of course the different badging between the two. But from the early shots of this, it looks like it will be following the pattern of their first gen Toyota 86 in the current format, the 2012 version, where it does have an engine insert, but it's just an insert, not a whole engine like the Aoshima kit had. And then also it's going to be a right-hand drive JDM spec only car. So there's that. It doesn't necessarily look like, basing it again off the photos of the engine compartment, which look like pretty much the same the same engine compartment with slightly different decal placement as the original one, because there really isn't any difference in the engine. The engine's had some modifications to it to give it a little bit more power, but they're not externally noticeable kind of differences. That the way the engine bay is set up, the battery and the brake booster are not reversible. Meaning, if you buy the Aoshima kit, which is available, currently still, plus the original one was a Scion FRS stuff with it. The way they built that kit up, the firewall was a separate piece depending on which side of the car you wanted the drivers to be on, and that let the battery, which sits up on the firewall, and the master brake cylinder and the brake booster sit up on the firewall. Those two different firewalls obviously let them flip sides so that you could have the steering wheel on whatever side you wanted it to be on. To me, is the platforms that those pieces go onto are built into the actual inner fender well structure of the kit, so it's only going to be JDM, and there's not really a way. Well, I mean, you could of course yourself chop it up and do whatever you want to with it, but it's not, as it comes in the box, going to be a left-hand drive available thing. So that kind of sucks a little bit. Maybe Aoshima will come along and do another one. I don't know if they will or not. I really don't know how well their factory stock version of that kit sold compared to the Tamiya one. It's certainly, when you're arguing the better of the two, Tamiya will probably give you a slightly better building experience just because of the Tamiya, everything falls together, put in a box in a closet, it builds itself thing. But the Aoshima kit certainly offered you a great deal more options. The original one with the Scion stuff included, which was a really nice feature for us here in North America who got that car here as the Scion. And the updated 2016 version they did, which had the new front fascia parts and stuff like that, was just a Toyota 86 at that point, but still carried the left-hand drive parts and the US spec decals and stuff like that. So it'd be lovely to see them do the current new one. It's not it's an evolution of the car, not a redesign of the car necessarily. I'm sure we'll have some pictures of it here coming up in the next couple of weeks once I get it out, on social media. Just beyond, right now it's just a blurb in the upcoming kit things that says 24 361 Toyota GR86. So I'm sure photos will be coming shortly, but there were none as of press time. And so yeah, that's something to look forward to. It's, is it the most exciting thing to me I could have done? No, but it's not unexpected either. They have done the RC stuff for the new body style 86 and BRZ, so kit of it, not shocking. So there's that. Also, again, we said we got Aoshima's December releases, so they are two more in the mobile catering line. Then they are the Shizuka Odin van, so that is the sort of soup truck that goes around the city of Shizuka, and then the gaming center, which I think is a lot of people's favorite one of these. That has the little fold-down arcade games that come off the side, including the little kid playing the racing game that sits off the back of it. So that's going to come back out. We're getting a reissue of the Knight Rider for Season 4, and then the Super Pursuit mode. A reissue of the 2010 Lamborghini Murcielago RSV, which is that gray kit that always sits right here in the background. If you want one, I got 3 of them left that I don't need. Get a sweet deal on those before the reissue comes out at a higher price. I've been trying to get rid of those for quite a while now. Actually, no, I have 2 of them left because I think I've actually got one sold. But at any rate, I need one of them, as it turns out. So I bought as many as there were decals available. Turns out the decals for those are for the previous RGT, which is a completely different car. Unfortunately, and I think that's probably why that thing sold so badly, was the decals that are available for it are for a previous generation of that car. This car, as it stands, along with the 2 liveried versions that they did of the Zolder car and the Spa winning car, those 2010, 2011 were the only 2 seasons that car ran that way. The earlier cars, the RGTs, ran for 3 seasons themselves, and it would have behooved them to tool up bodies for both because the chassis would have basically been the same, but they didn't do that, and yeah, that thing sucking wind like it did in sales is the reason why there are no more racing Lamborghinis, because nobody thinks they can sell anymore. So yeah. Woohoo! But yeah, that's going back into the new supercar lineup, but it's been a little while since it's been out. It's probably been 4 or 5 years since it's been reissued last because it didn't move very well. So yeah, it's just something like, I guess they're running out of subject matter in the supercar line that isn't new. Reissue of the 2007 Fairlady Z, reissue of the 72 Skyline 2000 GT, reissue of the 79 Skyline GT ES, and then a new entry to the police car line, the 2005 Toyota Crown, what they're calling the Motor Patrol. This is going to be one of the ones that has the extendable light bar that sits up above the roof to clear traffic. If you're from anywhere in the New York City area, you know that New York State Police, the Tunnel and Thruway, as well as Nassau, Suffolk, and New York City's Highway Patrol Division, all use those high riser light bars as their part of their, you know, again, seeing above the height of traffic so that people can see what lanes are closed in advance. Now, theirs is a scissor lift style, which is more towards what I think Quebec has some, OPP has some, where the light bar itself is on a scissor lift. The whole light bar goes up in the air. The McDermott style that we have here well, not here because I live in New York, but in New York area has these arms that go up. They look like you're trying to kick a police car field goal. This is the more traditional scissor lift style. And it'll have the new police car light bar. It looks like out of that kit that we just talked about last week that had the newly tooled light bar in it. So it's another police car reissue there, and that's pretty much it for the kit announcement stuff. Kit releases, we have a bunch of overseas stuff, but we did get one domestic release in this week, and that is this from the folks over at Atlantis. It is the Tom Mongoose McEwen 57 Chevy Funny Car. This is 1/24 scale. This is also based on a 1980s era monogram drag racing chassis. One of the many bodies that fit this chassis. I think originally this was a Mustang, which of course can't be released as right now because of the whole licensing with Ford that they don't have. But yeah, there you go. That's that's back out there for you. I mean, it's 50 some odd parts. It's a pretty basic monogram kit from back in the day, but you know, if you're into that sort of thing, it is back out there available for you. So look for that. Prices on those are running less than $20, which kind of makes sense because they're just old things that Atlantis. I don't know how much Atlantis paid for that scratch and dent tooling, but considering the fact that the sale of all of the tooling was $50,000, I can't imagine it was that much, and that's probably why you're seeing the lower price on some of those items. So yeah, that is back out. And then overseas to Japan, we did get mostly Aoshima stuff as they wrap up their August kits here. We did get a few September releases in as well. First up over at Tamiya, reissue, speaking of Z cars, their reissue of the Nissan 350Z Track. This was sort of the second version of this. I believe this is the one that came available with I believe if you look at the actual kit lineage of this, there's a 350Z Fairlady kit that only was sort of sold in Japan. Very limited run of it that only came with right-hand drive. Why do I keep saying left-hand drive for JDM this morning? But be that as it may. Stroke aside, that was a very limited kit. And then they did this 350Z Track, which was their, you know, sort of the top-of-the-line model of the 350Z when it was released in Japan. And I think this has different wheels than that first kit. Don't hold me to that. I know there's one that's also molded in like a chrome silver, but that's a completely different story entirely. But this, I think there were two releases. One is very limited in Japan, and this was sort of the global release, and this has left-hand drive in it. So this was the sort of the global version of the kit that was out there. It's been out of the kit catalog for, again, 3 or 4 years. A lot of hobby shops still probably have them laying around from back in the day. I don't know, nobody really wanted to buy 350Zs. I think that's why the 370Z came out, and it's never had like the newer versions of the 370Z. You got the Heritage Edition version of the car, but like, you know, we never got a Nismo 370Z. You never got any of the updates to the 370Z, and I'm sure we'll get a 400Z eventually once the actual car is actually out and about and on the road from Tamiya. But you know, the 350Z. Everybody made a 350Z, and I don't think anybody sold particularly well. I don't know if nobody liked this car. I mean, I know my friend Mr. John Brolin down there in West Virginia loves his 350Z, but beyond that, I'm not sure how well those kits actually sold because there was, you know, Aoshima does a pile of them, but they're all really tied into the tuner versions of those cars more than they are the factory stock ones. So, speaking of the folks over at Aoshima, we got a few, again, straight reissues this week. Ifini, the JDM only version of the Mazda RX-7 1996 spec, that gets a reissue. Also, reissue of the 2010 Toyota Hiace Super GL. Reissue of the Ken and Mary Works Liberty Walk 4-door Skyline. So these Liberty Walk kits seem to get reissued every week. So that's back out there because apparently the last one sold out. And then we got the next 4 in the Grand Champion series. This will end next month in September. Well, actually, we'll end this month in September, I should say. These are August's versions of those kits. So they are the, make sure my announcements are in the same order as these are going to show up as I go through them on screen here. So this is the Nissan Skyline 4-door early. And then you have the Nissan Skyline GTR, Ken and Mary, so it's like a 73 GTR. And then you have the Nissan Laurel 130. And then you have the Toyota Chaser GX41 version. Again, these, the kits have existed for a long time. They're just getting a reissue. So those are back out. And then we go over to Hasegawa for one release. And this is I believe this is a September release. Let me take a look here. No, this is still the last of the August kits. Lancia Delta HF Integral Evolution Martini 5. So reissue of their Delta HF Integral kit with a new set of decals. Pretty much the only thing here. So the Martini stripe down the side there is your big seller for this kit. Again, Hasegawa is sort of doing that thing I've mentioned before. They're sort of plumbing the depths of the Studio 27 kit decal releases, and this is something they did where they did a bunch of striping packages for the Lancia Delta for all these commemorative editions that they made in the mid 1990s. There were 500 of these built to commemorate their five consecutive World Rally Championship victories, and yeah, you got the highest of the high-end car with a special striping package, basically what the deal was there in the one-to-one car. And then that'll take us to the folks over at Platts and Nunu for two releases. So after months of stagnation, we're finally getting some kits, and they're going to come fast and furious here because these kits coming out in Japan are about 3 to 4 weeks behind the actual real release schedule of Nunu. And so there are at least two more kits already released in Hong Kong after the two I'm going to talk about here. So we're going to get a bunch of these just right in a row. They'll probably be spaced out over the course of a couple of months just because of, getting kits from Hong Kong to Japan, then out to distributors and all that sort of stuff. Containers are a problem everywhere, including just shipping things across a bay. But because of May, first up, you have 2015 Macau Fiat GT Audi R8 LMS car for the, this is the Ape camo livery, driven by Mark G. Lee. Frankie did these decals separately. You can get them through Studio 27, or not from SK Decals, rather, not Studio 27. And so this is basically his decal set put into an actual, for sale kit. And it's a pretty comprehensive decal sheet. You paint the car white, and the decals will do all of the heavy lifting. It's a huge, obviously, decal sheet with all of the camo being decals. So get your solvent out and get your their decals, Nunu's decals, Frankie's decals. I think it might be printed in the same place. Don't know for sure. Don't quote me on that. But they seem to cooperate the same based on my limited use of both at this point. And they're really good. But every decal going around a compound corner needs decal solution. That's just a fact of life. So have your solution ready. But it's a really cool car. I believe he won class with this. He didn't win the overall race, but I believe he won his class with this car. And it's just really, really an awesome livery. So let me take a peek and look that up online for the real car, and you'll see it's a pretty awesome car overall. And then we got, of course, because that comes with everything these days, or comes separately, but they make one for every kit, the Audi Hong Kong R8 detail upset. This, of course, has a bunch of carbon fiber. There's like 3 sheets of carbon fiber decals in here to do the most prominent inside items like the seat and some of the interior, and then, of course, the entire chassis is carbon fiber. That's a thing with Nunu. They want you to carbon fiber the entire bottom of the chassis, as well as things like the strakes on the rear diffuser and the front lift spoiler. PE there, a bunch of vents, bunch of radiator faces, the brake faces, the seatbelt material. There's thicker PE for the wing stands and the winglets, as well as this having the driver netting on it. It does have the canards separately, but the Audi kit has its canards in it. It's always a point of contention with the BMW M6. Was the only way you get the canards with the M6 was to buy the PE set, because there are not plastic ones in that kit. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a worthwhile upgrade set. You're not going to use all of it. You do probably have to anneal the PE to bend the actual grill PE the correct direction. But otherwise, the rest of it could be used pretty much right off the sheet without too many issues. And then the other release from New Platts this week is this, the Porsche 935 K3, the Grazi Kremer car. So this actually has a runner of new parts in it for basically the rear end of the car. If you've purchased any of their 935 K2s or K3s, then you know that the rear fender assemblies are separate on the body, and that allows them, in this case for the K3, which had about 5 different fender variations, the ability to swap out the rear fenders. Classic Racing Resins has done rear fenders for a couple of years now. These rear fenders are for the Grazi car, and I believe the Apple car and the Sachs car can also use them. But if you're going to do like a Coke car or any of the Jägermeister cars, then you still have to go see Classic Racing Resins for the correct fenders if you care enough to have the correct fenders. But yeah, the parts runner that you get in here has the new fenders, a new rear spoiler, new winglets, a couple of little odds and ends. I think there's new mirrors in it. This represents the 1980 24 Hours of Le Mans car. It didn't finish, I don't think, or maybe it did. I can't remember. There were so many 24 Hours of Le Mans decals done through like the folks over at Print Lab, which is Spot Models decal printing service, that I've lost track of who did what where with what car at this point. But this is another sort of Frankie livery put into a box, as he did these decals separately himself for SK Decals. This does include all of the pink as a decal, so you don't have to try to find a pink that's the right color. If you get like the SK decals, or not the SK, wow, I'm getting all my decal stuff mixed up today. If you get the Studio 27 decals or the new sheet that Shunko just put out, you get the stripes that go around the pink, but you do not get the actual pink. You'd have to paint that pink. The SK decal set and the new kit decals include the pink in there. So for the K3 fans, that's finally out. That's been promised for quite a while. And then, of course, there is a photo etch set for that as well. That this one is a little bit different than the other K3 set. If you're going to build this car or a car with this fender set specifically, you do need this PE set because those fender intakes are different. The PE on the fender intakes are different. The rest of it pretty much carries over because a lot of it is going to be the front mesh for the grill opening and things like that. But the upper fender intakes, the winglets themselves, the rear deck intake, those are different shapes, and so you would need this PE to have it fit. It's not a universal PE for both cars. The previous, version that was the Le Mans winner, and this one, like I said, different rear ends to them, and so you need different PEs. If you are into the PE thing, and a lot of people are not big fans of PE, but that's an individual decision, I guess. Anyway, guys, that wraps up this week. Hopefully next week I won't be having a stroke with going through my decal manufacturers, and we'll see you guys on the other side.